want to clarify why you got the camera out. I've never expressed bigotry. I don't have any bigotry. I don't have intolerance. As a matter of fact, my demographic would be far more intolerant.
How about you guys let
than yours?
How about you guys let me speak for about 10 minutes tomorrow at your Answers in Science?
If we're having one of those rare occasions wherein we can oppose pseudoscience, why would we invite a pseudoscientist and give him time?
Well,
we already know what your story is. It's
you
super
don't.
saturated.
No, you don't.
I have a better idea. If you want a forum wherein you can do exactly that, you can either take the invitation that Ken Ham accepted and then very obviously dropped, which was for an open debate and moderated forum, which we procured for that purpose, and then he wouldn't show up.
I don't even know.
Or,
Or that's really not.
If you're up to it, you can debate me yourself in a similar forum. Or if
we
you're
can
not
talk
up to
about.
that,
Yeah,
then we can
let's
negotiate.
talk about.
Let me throw out an option.
Let's talk about advancing math and science in the 21st century, and how y'all standing out here protesting dinosaur history is helping that. Why don't we have a debate about talking about how to advance math and science in the 21st century? Can we have that as our debate?
Can we narrow the topic down a bit?
No, I think that's a good topic.
Let's
so debate about what. Let's debate what the best way to advance math and science in the 21st century is. Let's
there would be no part
out.
of the conflict between your position and my position that would show up in that. I want to refine
Well, yeah, there would.
So
There'd be a huge conflict. There'd be a huge conflict because y'all are out here. Y'all are out here protesting dinosaur history.
No, we're not protesting
and you could be at an inner city school right now. You could be in the 4th ward, the 5th ward, teaching kids who really have a hard time. You could be teaching them math, building them up so that they can be a part of this society and,
you know what?
and
Ken Ham
advance
could probably
science.
do that too, and instead he's spending how many millions of dollars on a damn art park?
It's already 12 million out of 25 million.
I'm talking about you.
All right,
I'm talking about you. I'm talking about why aren't you doing that?
The bigot who believes in magic, as you put it? He said, I believe in magic.
Well, what you denied reason. So
no, I did not deny reason.
Yeah.
You did.
So
reason is based on logic and
if you're
inference
out
on evidence,
here,
which you
if
have
you're
all
out here
rejected.
opposing religious viewpoints,
I'm
about
not opposing
history.
religious viewpoints.
Yeah, you're against
I'm
creationism.
opposing dogmatism. That's a religious extremism.
I'm open to talk about interpretations.
Then I think the best forum for you would be on the dogma debate.
I think we should discuss that, not oppose.
Just to clarify, we're not out here opposing creationism. We're out here. Well, hold on. Let me just clarify. Let me just clarify. We're here to. What we're here is in opposition to the idea that young Earth creationism is true and scientifically supported by the evidence. That's what we have an issue with.
History debate.
Right, but
what
see,
we
the
need
thing
to
is,
do. No, what the thing is that y'all are out here protesting.
well, no, not a protest. It's a demonstration. We're not trying to shut anybody down. We're not trying to deny anybody the right to free speech. No, it's not a protest. We're not. It's not a protest. See, we could have tried. Can I make a point?
I'm for factual science too.
Can I make a point here?
No, let me make some points. Y'all need to make some points and let me.
You haven't allowed me to.
No, listen.
But, okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
You're out here demonstrating, whatever you want to call it, against a religious viewpoint about dinosaur history.
A factually incorrect lesson.
Well, you don't know that.
I do know that it is factually incorrect.
It doesn't matter.
I do know.
It does not matter. You don't believe in God, and you don't believe in God anyway.
They should be factually accurate lessons. You should not be lying to kids.
Right. So you don't believe in God anyway, and I think that's a lie. So I mean, we disagree there.
We have a disagreement on what the word lie means. I think that a lie would be something that you
listen. I want to talk about math and science. I want to talk about in the Houston area, in the Woodlands.
Creationism.
I'm promoting math and science, and I'm promoting that for the glory of God.
Presuppositionalism and creationism.
Well, you presuppose that God doesn't exist.
I do not presuppose.
Yes, you do.
No, I do not. I was a believer to begin with.
That's totally irrational.
Coming to a conclusion after an examination of the evidence is
You're
not
still
a presupposition.
presupposing.
I'm not presupposing.
Yeah, you are.
My presupposition was
whatever.
that God existed.
That makes absolutely no sense.
After examining the evidence, I'm coming to a different conclusion. That is not a presupposition.
Well, yeah, it is.
No, it is not.
Anyway,
and
you're
you will not be
presupposing
able
the
to play
Bible
the
is
game
wrong.
of equivocation. You're not going to be able to say that I have faith and you have evidence, which is what you're trying to do.
I don't. I want to talk about advancing.
And I don't have faith.
I want to talk about advancing science in the 21st century, and this is not how you do it.
It's definitely going to do it.
No, it's not. This is stupid.
No,
this is stupid right
Going
here.
to listen to Ken Ham and giving
Teaching
him millions
kids
of dollars to not do anything beneficial but build an art
billions?
park is not a brilliant thing to do.
That is freedom. People have the liberty to do that. Okay.
Yes, yes.
When we have the freedom to be out here to get out the message about the real science.
Y'all also
See, Ken Ham doesn't just say, it's not about the history, dinosaur history. This is about saying that anthropology is wrong, archaeology is wrong, cosmology is wrong, paleontology is wrong, biology is wrong. It's about saying that almost every single realm of the sciences is wrong in some way.
It's about different interpretations of history.
Wrong interpretations.
It's about rates.
But do you see why it's not just about dinosaur history? When you claim that the universe is less than 7,000 years old, you're saying that the entire realm of the sciences is wrong. And that almost every single scientist in the world is wrong.
I mean, you asked me about the language of science. What is the method of science?
Question, hypothesis, methods, results, discussion.
So
you can't do that with history because you can't verify.
Naturalism, which is diametrically opposed to the creationist perspective.
Well, yeah, it is, and there's a problem there.
And creationists are wrong on that point.
There's a difference between scientific things and historic things, and I've
except that we can use the same technology to verify that you are an ape that we could use to verify whether you are the father of Ed's child.
We can use scientific tools to study and
the
interpret history.
The same information, the same confirmation to the same degree of confidence.
Well, not really. You can't verify past. So there's a difference between verification and interpretation.
Yes, we can verify the past by myriad means.
No, you can't.
Yes, we can.
But anyway, what the problem is out here is that there's this confusion over a historic thing and a scientific thing, and if y'all would be focusing on helping kids learn mathematics, which is the language of science.
Yes. Why don't you talk to Ken Ham and say that what we need is not an art park. What we need is for you to take those millions of dollars that we're donating
what I need is for you to do that
and not lie to the kids. That would be a good thing. If you're going to be promoting education, don't lie to the kids. Well, I think that should be integral.
Maybe y'all need to go. I think it's y'all that's lying. Okay, we disagree there.
Except that I can prove that what I'm saying is actually true, and I can prove that what you're saying is lying.
So
you said I believe in magic. You said I was a Klansman. You called the museum and told them that we were anti-Semitic, potentially violent neo-Nazis. This was you. Yes.
There's
and none of those things apply. The Nazis were a Christian group. The Klansmen are a Christian group. I am not in either of those groups.
They're theistic evolutionists too.
What?
They're theistic evolutionists too.
There are theistic,
there's a good connection there.
The KKK are primarily creationists. So it doesn't matter how you want to
No, they think that they're superior based on evolution.
And they believe that the first Jews were the product of a merger with Satan and Eve through the serpent.
Well, that's stupid.
Right. Yeah, that's stupid, but that's what they believe, and obviously
and so,
that's not
y'all
a
are talking
theistic
stupid out
evolutionist
here.
position. So you're standing here lying about me again, like you did on your blog twice, and you call me a liar?
No, I'm not lying.
I don't believe in magic, sir. You said I believed in magic. You said I was a Klansman. You said I was racist. You said I was bigoted. You said I was
never said you were
intolerant.
racist. I said you were like a racist.
Like a racist. So he calls the museum and says I'm like a racist, and that I'm an anti-Semitic, potentially violent neo-Nazi. And you have the audacity to tell me that my perspective is a lie? You are a professional liar, sir.
No, I'm sorry, I'm not.
Everything you said in your blog can be shown to be untrue, and you knew. With reasonable certainty
but you've already denied reason.
You've already denied reason. You have reason is dependent on evidence. You have given up on evidence by accepting presuppositionalism instead.
Well, you have to.
You also made a faith-based
to
statement
interpret
that you
the
will not
past.
accept any evidence that stands against you.
To interpret the past, you have to have some presuppositions.
I don't want to believe that.
If you don't want to believe that, then
it doesn't matter what I want to believe.
Well, yeah, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Belief is an obligate condition based on my understanding of the facts. It is not a matter of choice for me, like it is for those of faith.
Well, some of it is, and some of it is
some
that God.
It is not.
Some of it
I
is
do
that
not
God
make a
can change your
choice
heart.
in any of it.
Yeah, but some of it is that God can change your heart, and so it is not totally.
God
up
would
to
have
you.
to exist first, and that would be a moot point whether he could or not. It doesn't change the
Well,
fact.
then why are you out
Whether
here
your
protesting
God
here?
exists or not, the
Why are
world
you
is still
protesting
older
here?
than 10,000 years old.
We're not protesting.
Whether God exists or not, the book of Genesis is still a compilation of fables, and you are still an evolved ape, and not even the existence of your God can change either of these facts.
Facts change, though.
No, facts do not change.
Truth doesn't change. Facts change.
Facts
How many
do
times
not
has the
change.
Earth age changed in the last 100 years?
Facts are verifiable, objectively, and measurable.
Well, show me
they
your
do not change.
Show me your time machine that can go back and show me how the Grand Canyon formed. Let's go hop in that time machine.
We don't need a time machine.
Okay,
We
well, how
have
many
objective
different interpretations
verification
are
means.
there? How many different interpretations are there of the Grand Canyon?
Of the scientific perspective or the religious?
The historic perspective, because it
One.
happened in the past.
One.
There's one?
One.
Which one is it?
The scientific perspective.
Well, tell me what it is. You're the scientist here. You seem to
Well,
understand
as
history
the
so
as the
much.
Grand Canyon
You kind of made
never
yourself
had
the authority.
the giant volume of the giant reservoir of water that it would have had to have had for the creationist perspective to gouge it out the way it is. And since it's made of granites that cannot be formed the way that they were with the kind of water flow that we're
There's like
talking about.
there's 7 or 8 or
And
10.
since you
There's
can't
7 or 8 or
have all
9
the
or
sedimentary
10
layers
secular
that you have
interpretations.
in it with the type of
Which one's
time
right?
that it takes for each sedimentary layer to form, and then
I'm
you
not
have
asking
raindrops
about that.
or footprints
asking
in
which
the
one of
intermediate
those-
layers, and then you continue.
I'm
with
asking which
further
one of
ones.
those interpretations is the right one. There's like 7 or 8 secular
There's
interpretations.
one.
Which one
Show
is the
me
right one?
other ones. The
There
only
are
one.
there
The only secular
scientists
perspective
now
is the
are
only
doing
one.
scientists now are doing tests on granite formation, the rates of it, and they're saying it can solidify 3 orders of magnitude faster than in the past. So that's like saying
There
something
are-
1,000,000 years old is actually 1,000 years old. There's secular scientists
referencing the
debating
data,
this. There's
I
secular
can't say.
scientists debating this right now.
Okay, without referencing whatever it is that
So
you're
which one is right? Which one
the
is
only
right?
one.
Look up Yalda and Gihortza.
Why don't you bring this information onto Dogma Debate?
You
We would
are a
love to
grown
have.
man.
You are a grown man too.
Yeah.
Let's both act like it, not just me. So
And,
you come on Dogma Debate with me. We'll give you some time to talk. You give us a forward of the kinds of things
if
you're
we
going
want
to
to
bring
talk
up.
about how to advance math and science
And absolutely.
in the 21st
So
century,
before you come on the show,
by
give me the
promoting
citation.
mathematics, by encouraging mathematics instead of dinosaur history demonstrations.
This is not a dinosaur history
Yes,
demonstration.
it is.
No,
it's
not.
Look,
And you were laughing at what you don't
what is that?
understand. Huh?
that is a dinosaur history demonstration right there.
This is a false dinosaur
It's
history.
a cartoon.
Right, and that's the one that Ken Ham is promoting.
So
We are not promoting that. We are doing quite the opposite.
it's an
in fact.
interpretation of history. is
We
what
interpret it
is.
according to
and
facts. You
We
interpret it according to
discuss
faith.
interpretations of history. We don't come out and
So,
protest and demonstrate
Do
dinosaur
you
history.
intend to have this debate with me, or do you intend to come on Dogma Debate with me?
I think we ought to do it at Rice University. Why do we have to do it on Dogma Debate? Why don't we do it at the Houston Museum of Natural Science?
Well, that's right. He criticized me for being a capitalist, too. Most people would have called me a socialist or a communist by now, but he decided to ridicule me for being a capitalist.
I think it's
It
great.
doesn't really
No, I'm
matter
not
that I'm out
ridiculing
here
you. I think
for
that's
no
awesome. That's
profit.
what we
I'm
need to
making
do.
no money doing this.
Well,
I'm doing my
every time
activism
somebody
for this.
clicks on a link on your
Yeah,
thing,
then
you get some money off
FTV
of it.
gets money, and I get a pittance.
You
I
get
get
money,
I
so
get.
that's money, right? You get
How much
money.
do you get on the blog that you've got with the books that you're hawking? I get
None.
I get a
None, but I
get
do
a-
get some free advertising
I
from
don't
you
have
when
to
you
pay
respond to me,
for
and
my-
I get lots
my
more
blog.
interest.
That's
in
my
who I
advantage.
am, so
I get 20, 30 bucks a month, but at least I don't have to
You
pay for the blog.
profit.
No, I don't. Because I invest much more of my time in it
Profit.
than it's worth.
So, but you make money. So
No, I don't
well,
actually, because if
no.
you take the man hours that
Listen,
are involved
listen.
versus what I get paid,
Listen.
no, I'm paying for it.
Well, then take the ad stuff off then.
I can't.
Yeah, you can.
They offer me a free blog that I don't have to pay for. The way
I
they
don't
pay
have to
for it
pay
is
for
why that.
WordPress. It's free.
Okay. And how much do you make off of your books that you hawk on your blog?
I really don't hawk any books on my blog.
You don't have any books or videos or anything for sale on your blog?
On my website.
Okay. And how much money do you think I'm making out here, standing out here in the heat? How much do you think I made for the drive out here?
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your blog making money off of it. And this is just like so unbelievably. Why are we even discussing this?
Because
you make money off of
try
that.
To bring it up. I have a free blog.
I know, but you're saying you don't, and you're trying to justify that you don't. I mean, it's just unbelievably irrational.
Right. It's not irrational. I'm not.
Right. What difference does it make if you don't believe in God? Why are you out here demonstrating?
Because I believe in truth.
Okay,
and truth can be verified.
Mathematics is the language
Would
of
you
science.
agree? Would you agree that it is dishonest to assert as fact that which is not evidently true?
I think it's dishonest to say.
It's a yes or no.
I think it's
That's
dishonest
a yes or no.
to say that there is one version of natural history and y'all have it figured out,
okay.
And so you need to come demonstrate against it. Here
Answer my yes or no question.
I am answering it.
No.
Here in
you
the
would either
21st
say yes or you would say no.
Okay, well then answer. Well, first answer mine. Are you making money off of your blog, and could you take that off?
I could
so you're not
take
being a
that
capitalist.
Off. No, I'd end up having to pay for a blog.
Okay, so then do that.
Why?
So you're upset that I'm saying you're a capitalist. So
I'm not actually. I think it's a paltry thing to accuse me of. It's a rather a silly thing because from your perspective,
so you're
you
anti-capitalism.
would normally,
Are you anti-capitalism?
I'm not pro-capitalism.
So you're anti-capitalism.
No.
So you're neutral.
I would consider myself neutral on that political aspect. I think that there are some things with capitalism that I disagree with. The way that they profiteer, I'm against. In general,
there are errors in every economic version.
And I understand that.
For sure.
And that's why I don't side with any of them.
Okay. So you don't have any opinions then?
No.
Okay.
Not on that matter.
Okay.
But as I said, it's
so
an ironic thing
that
people would normally accuse me of some other belief that I definitely do not side with. They would normally call me a communist or something like that, simply because I don't believe in a God, because I have no reason to. Now answer my question.
Now communism.
And it is a yes or no question. Right. It is a yes or no question.
Hey, would you mind taking photos of the discussion going on over there? Do you have a camera on you? Oh, okay. Anita, do you have a camera?
I've got my own phone exactly like that.
Well, yeah, that's fine. I was just thinking if you could get some photos of the discussion going on over here.
Well, facts change.
But facts
because mine's I'm recording.
Yeah, I mean,
this.
the secular Earth history has changed like 100 in the past 100 years. It's changed a bunch of times.
A fact is a piece of data which is verifiably, objectively verifiable. It is a point of data that is either not in dispute or it is indisputable in that it is verifiably correct.
Well, but science changes.
Science does improve.
So what was that all about?
We do have to consider
it changes because facts change. So what you're saying is really unreasonable.
How is it unreasonable?
Telling us we're not.
But facts don't change.
We're not able.
A fact is a point of data which is either not in dispute or is indisputable in that it is objectively verifiable. So facts don't change.
Truth doesn't change.
Truth can't change either.
So facts are truth.
The truth is what the facts are.
Okay. Well,
so if you're going to teach a lesson in school and you're not teaching
what
facts,
we need to do,
you're not teaching.
Well, what we need to do is,
and if you're teaching things that are not fact as though they were fact, then it is dishonest. And again, you're lying to children.
Well, you're interpreting history differently than other people is really what you're doing.
Well, there's other people that interpret history as not having a Holocaust or that we never went to the moon.
Yeah, but there's observable, there's historical documents that we can use though too to help verify some of that.
Get this? Which do you deny, the Holocaust or the moon landing? And what else do you deny?
I deny that. That we have all of history figured out right now.
Oh, nobody has all of history figured out right now. We only know of a few things for certain. There was never a global flood. The Tower of Babel was not constructed the way it was described. I do know that for certain.
No, you don't.
Yeah, that's been verified for certain. There's no doubt about that. No room for error on that one.
No.
We know for certain there was never a global flood. We know what flood did happen. We know when and where and what the extent was.
I'm glad you think you know that.
But there is no doubt. There was never a global flood.
There are doubts.
And the Tower of Babel did not happen the way the Bible described, and neither did the Exodus.
Well, I think I have doubts. I'm skeptical about
You're not
claims.
skeptical. You're a presuppositionalist.
Well, yeah,
You have to eliminating skepticism.
You're a presuppositionalist.
No, I don't. I am not a presuppositionalist. Just because you are projecting your own thoughts does not mean I accept them.
You have to be a presuppositionalist.
I do not have to be a presuppositionalist.
Or you can just upload them to the
I do not
meetup.
deny reason, and I do not deny reason by being a presuppositionalist.
So
in order to be a presuppositionalist, you have to deny reason because you have to accept that your predetermined conclusions are correct regardless of evidence, which means you, by definition, deny reason.
No, there is evidence. There is evidence. So,
do you understand what evidence is?
What
evidence is going to be factual circumstances.
We all have the same set of evidence.
No, we don't.
Right?
No, we don't.
Oh, you have different evidence?
No, I have the only evidence because factual evidence is a factual circumstance that aligns with or is concordant with only one available option over any other.
See, if you have
no, we don't.
Yeah, we do.
If you claim that you have evidence, wait. If you claim,
he's got a
hello.
hat on.
If you claim,
you don't need to listen. We all have the same.
We do not have the same evidence. ERVs are not evidence of creation. They're evidence of evolution. The fact that you are taxonomically classified as an ape and the reasons for which you are taxonomically classified as an ape is evidence of evolution. It is not evidence
Kitty,
of
would you mind
creation.
recording?
It is rather
I just want to walk over here and
evidence
see what's going on.
against creation.
It's an interpretation.
So we do not. It's not an interpretation. It's a demonstrable fact. It doesn't require presupposition. It doesn't matter what your faith is. It's not an interpretation. It's not a presupposition. And
we've all got the same science. We can all go to the same science papers and read them.
Yeah, we can all do that. And then some of us
we can all do the same mathematics instead of out here demonstrating dinosaur
Yeah, I
history.
know. I see. When I went through this with Bob Enyart, he did kind of the same thing. He played the same argument.
I don't care what Bob did.
Yeah.
I'm talking to you right now.
Okay. Yeah. So
I'm talking to you about.
You can show me.
I'm trying. Oh yeah. We all
have.
Like I said, we all
Let me
have
get
the
this
same.
on camera.
We all have
You
the same set of
no evidence in support of creation.
We all have the same set of evidence.
We
the
do
difference
not all
is
have the
in
let
the
me explain
interpretation.
why. Let me explain why.
No, you're not going to. It's going to be irrational. It's not going to make any sense.
No, it's not going to be irrational. Think about this logically. You cannot say that the same facts count as evidence for two different, mutually exclusive conclusions at the same time.
Well, if John F. Kennedy was shot.
Hold on.
John F. Kennedy was shot.
Let me explain why so that you understand.
We all have that one thing, right?
Why?
There's different interpretations of how it happened.
Why so that you understand.
I'm
Let me
simplifying
finish
it.
this.
I'm giving you an
You're
analogy.
You're distorting it.
No, I'm not. John F. Kennedy died, right? He was shot. There's different interpretations of what happened, right? We all have that same evidence.
No.
Yeah.
No. That's good. Yeah. I was trying to explain something, and you're trying very hard not to let me explain it because you're terrified that you might understand it. And there's no way that you're terrified. So you'd be willing to say I'm not ahead of the conversation. That's why you're out of this. Yes, you do. That's why you're out of this.
No, I'm trying to simplify the argument here.
Then don't simplify it. I've made it pretty damn simple. Let the statement finish to its completion, and then you'll understand it. Now, let me explain. Logic. Wait. Let me get back to the statement.
You've talked most of the time here. Let me simplify this.
I'm the only one that knows what I'm talking about. I've read your paper.
No, you deny reason. So
I do not deny reason, sir. You do. You're a presuppositionalist.
So are you.
Good job.
Everybody's a presuppositionalist.
No, they are
to
not.
Trying to interpret history.
If you're not going to listen to anything that I say, then I'm not going to
You're
talk
not
to you
listening
anymore.
to what I say.
I'm trying. I need to get a
You're not
statement
listening
out.
to what I'm saying.
You need to say something that's true, and you haven't said anything that's true yet.
Look,
You've accused me.
Answers in science.
Right. You've accused me of a bunch of things that do not apply. You told me I was a bigot. That was a lie. You told me I was a Nazi. That was a lie. You told me I was anti-Semitic, and that was a lie. You told me I believe in magic, and that was a lie. And now you tell me I'm a presuppositionalist. You know what? You're a liar. Got it?
You're acting like a bigot. Okay. When you come out here,
a bigot is somebody that
when
makes
you have on your blog,
you made the prejudice statement.
Right, but you have on your blog, religion doesn't know anything.
That's true.
And you have a blog post that says we're against creationism. That is a bigoted.
That's not bigoted.
That is a bigoted attitude. It's a bigoted attitude.
From religion.
It's a bigoted attitude.
It is something that I've determined over time.
It's as stupid.
I had to find out that religion doesn't actually know anything. Because what can you say that you know? The only thing you can know is what the facts indicate, and you don't have any. You have nothing that logically
we got the same
drives
facts you do,
No,
buddy.
you don't have any facts that are supportive of your condition.
We have the
there
same
is
facts
not
that you do.
one fact that is positively indicative of the creationist position over that of biological evolution or any other body of actual science.
Well, why don't you come in and take a look at my science and math at the moment?
Why don't you come on my show or set up something in a neutral venue where we can discuss this? You present what you think is evidence.
I told you I would.
Okay, then we'll set it up.
So, yeah, but I mean, I'd like to
work it out with me.
Take a look. Take a look at what I have, and let's see what the.
I would encourage you to do that same.
The answer in science is mathematics is the language of science
and evidence.
And in 21st century America, what we have as a problem is mathematics. Okay?
What we have with science is a science illiteracy problem because we have creationism being taught in
school. Mathematics is the language of science. It's the foundation.
A good tool.
Yeah, and you're out here protesting dinosaur history. Why aren't you
not protesting dinosaur? This man is lying again. We are not protesting dinosaur history.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
First of all, if it was a dinosaur history, we wouldn't protest it.
Okay, well, how did
purely out of numbers?
Well,
or even purely out of geometry.
Okay, well, how do irrational numbers work then?
Well, but irrational numbers work. What's the point? The point is, they're fine. What does that tell
Well, the
you?
Greeks didn't think they were fine.
No,
it's not. They shut down mathematics because they were confused about irrational numbers. And it took Christians who understood that infinity was real to overcome it. So, what are you doing to promote mathematics? What are you doing to promote mathematics literacy? Is this how you're doing it?
There's more to science than just mathematics.
We're also promoting science,
but
which
that
is
the most.
And you don't have any.
Yes, we do. We have the same set of evidence.
You do not have any scientific evidence.
I'm sorry.
I'm making a statement on your camera so I can call you out later. Somebody else get me. Okay, you got this. You do not have any scientific evidence that is positively indicative of your conclusion, sir. All of the evidence is indicative of my conclusion exclusively. Thank you.
Yep, you got it all figured out here in the 21st century. You've got all of history.
I do. I don't have all of history worked out, but I do know. No flood.
Sounds like you've made yourself the authority.
No Tower of Babel. And I didn't make myself an authority. I don't believe in authority.
Okay, well then.
Now, because it's part of
I don't know what
I have to go by evidence and facts.
Sure. Okay. Well, I'll use the same set of evidence.
Except that you don't.
So, yeah,
you use presuppositionalism, which requires that you deny reason when it contrasts with your.
You know, there's different kinds of reasoning. There's deductive and there's inductive. So deductive reason
Because you have a bias wherein you refuse to accept any facts that stand contrary to your position, then you are presuppositionalist. But I am not.
Deductive reasoning is about interpretation.
We shouldn't have
And there's no way that deductive reasoning is a fact that you are classified as an ape.
Deductive reasoning is
Would you agree that it is a fact that you're classified as an ape? Would you
How steady is your hand? Because I'm having a hard time holding this up.
As a member of the
My hand's getting pretty shaky after a while.
But that I can demonstrate that is a fact.
Well, all you're going to do is say common.
We can look up the definition.
I like to say common descent.
But we can look up the definition for what hominoidia is, and I can prove that you are, in fact, defined as a subset of hominoidia. So that means it's a fact, right? I mean, it's a fact that you are defined that way, right? But it's not a matter of interpretation. If I show you the book that says you are an ape, then that's a fact. The book says you are an ape. Would you agree that?
It's a book written by man.
Yeah, and based on what? How do they come to that conclusion?
They do that based on having a presupposition about
No,
common
not
descent?
having a presupposition. No, because they got to this without a presupposition. Carolus Linnaeus was a creationist. When he discovered that men were apes, he challenged the scientific community of his day to show one difference, to distinguish men from apes. Instead, what
They
they
didn't
did
even
was
have
create.
DNA back then.
That's right, they didn't.
So it's,
and
it's
when
just
they
looking at similarities. Is all it
right,
is.
and so that was the diagnostic
you
characteristics.
say because they
So
have
a man
similarities, they have
without,
common descent.
so a man living
I say
before
it's common
Darwin, having no presuppositions, recognizes after an investigation of the evidence that man is in fact ape, and he cannot distinguish the apes from men nor men from apes. So this is how taxonomy was derived. It was then confirmed genetically once we had the genes to confirm it.
Do you think you really need to tell me this? Like I'm like
Apparently,
don't
yeah.
understand. No, I understand all that already.
So you're arguing that it's an interpretation. I said,
I think you were created. I
you
think we were
agree that
created
it is a
special.
fact that you are defined as a member of the set of Hominoidea, the
Some
superfamily
people define
Hominoidea.
it that way.
And
yeah.
yes, so it is a fact that you are defined that way.
That's,
So that we could look
that's-
up books
yeah.
right now that will. So that is a fact. You
That
agree
is
a fact.
fact.
How do you interpret that fact?
I
in support of your
interpret it. I interpret it as common design.
That you are an ape.
That we have some things in common. Yeah. We got
And
some
how
DNA
does
in
common
common.
design explain the number 2 chimp chromosome being fused into a human chromosome, for example?
Well, that's an interpretation of that.
Again, we're not talking about an interpretation.
Yeah, we can't verify that.
We can verify that.
No, we can't.
We
We just
have
look at
verified
it.
that.
We look at that and say that they look the same, so they must be
Precisely.
common descent. I say, well, they look the same, so they must be common design. So there's different interpretations.
So you may interpret the facts away, and I don't.
No, I look at the same. I look at the same evidence as you, and I have a different interpretation. So that's really what it's about. And this right here, look, your kids deserve the truth, right? Mathematics is a lot about truth. It gets us to
Evidence
the truth, and so we
is
build
truth too.
we build science on mathematics.
And when you tell lessons to kids that are not factually correct, then you're not giving them truth.
When you tell them there's just one interpretation of history, that's not true.
When there's only one supported by science, that is true.
Well, that's a consensus.
When there's
thing,
one
and science
consensus,
doesn't-
science
science doesn't
that.
work off.
I'll tell
consensus.
kids there's one scientific consensus that is held by more than 99.44% of all the
So
world's
that means that there's that's like an argument from authority, though. That's just a logical fallacy.
No, it's just it's a statement of fact. It's a scientific
It's a
consensus.
logical
There's
fallacy.
only one scientific consensus. Is that not a true statement? There is one scientific consensus. That is a fact.
yeah,
I can state
yeah,
that
some-
fact.
there's a
you
lot
are
of-
defined as an ape.
If
Yes,
you want
I can
to
state that
if you
fact
want to
too.
make an argument from authority, which is a logical fallacy, sure.
I'm not making an argument from authority. There is a factual statement that
When
there
you
is
say
one scientific
99% of scientists have a consensus, that's not how science works. Though science doesn't do
Right.
consensus.
That
Science
is
is about
correct.
verification.
But that doesn't change the fact, does it?
that
That
y'all
there's
are
only
arguing from
one
authority and
consensus,
having a
that I'm
logical
not- that I'm
fallacy,
not
that you're
arguing
basing
from
it all on
authority.
a logical fallacy.
I'm arguing from evidence.
Yeah, it doesn't change that fact
bring
at all.
Evidence.
I use the same
No,
set
you
of
don't.
evidence.
You don't have any.
You and I
evidence.
have the same set of evidence.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
Your
we
classification
we
is
interpret.
dismissed.
I'm sorry,
It's not
having people
interpreted.
on your
It's
set
dismissed.
is a logical.
If you want to say you did not evolve from an ape, you are not descended from apes. The fact that you are an ape yourself, and so are all of your ancestors by definition, would automatically refute your own argument. So you can't interpret it in a procreationist term. But you did not. If you want to argue that you are not
think it's common
descended from
design.
apes, then having the proof that you are still an ape and so are your